Hello, Becky Magnolia here. I am here with Annie McAvoy. Yay! And as
Yay!
you can see, this is super unprofessional, but we are just here to have fun, right? Annie is you're the first person I'm interviewing for my new podcast,
Woo!
Joyride. This is
Whoa!
a joyride, and
Okay.
where everything is kind of spontaneous and you never know what's going to happen next. But that's what makes it fun. So I'm author Becky Magnolia, author of Joyride. And Annie, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh my word. How far back do you want to go? Um, okay. I first had my first contact with one of my angels who was pretty much still with me when I was around 3. And his name, at least that's the name I assigned to him, was Praise Ye the Lord because he kept saying it all the time. So I thought,
Praise ye?
Praise ye the Lord.
Praise ye the Lord. All
Praise ye
right.
the Lord.
All right.
Something you'd hear in church. And we didn't go to a whole lot of church, so I don't know, where
Yeah.
this came from,
Yeah.
but I think he just said it a lot, and I thought that was his name.
Yeah.
And he saved my bacon on more than one occasion, but we can give that's another
Yeah.
story. So then I was 5. I
Uh-huh.
died, and that was from a tonsillitis episode, and they took the tonsils out and gave me an adult dose of ether.
Uh-huh.
And I was a little 5-year-old kid,
Yeah.
so that did me in. But I brought, obviously it came back because here I am.
Yeah.
And at the time, I told my mother about it, and she said I was never ever to tell anybody about it. And it really wasn't until I was in my 50s
Mm-hmm.
that,
So your mom's told you, so you had a near-death experience, an
yes,
NDE,
yes,
and you told your mom, and she
yeah,
said, "Don't tell anybody."
yes. The reason being was, now this is in the early 50s,
Yeah.
and they would put you in the nut house if you
Oh,
talked about a near-death experience. They weren't
yeah.
accepting of this kind
Yeah.
of thing at the time.
Yeah.
So she was trying to keep me out of the insane asylum. So, and it worked because I never mentioned it until I
Right.
was like mid 50s.
And so do you think that that experience was kind of your ushering in? Like, you know what I mean?
I think it contributed.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I was already well on my way. It just
yeah, yeah,
contributed. Yeah.
yeah. And okay, so fast forward. So this was your kind of first experience of. Well, talk. Let's just go into it if you're okay with that.
Sure,
Will you
sure.
tell me about the NDE? What was it?
Um, I don't think it was exciting as some of the
Right.
people that I've read. I didn't meet Jesus or anything like that. But I want to tell you about how this all
Oh
came
yeah,
out
please,
because,
please.
you know, um, I had retired, I had free time. A bunch of my friends were conducting large IONS
Yeah.
meetings, and that's International Association of Near Death Society.
Uh-huh.
And I knew they were having a meeting that day, so some of my friends were there, and I knew they had food. So I went
Uh-huh.
because I hadn't eaten all day.
Right.
So we sat in this huge circle, and they had quite a wow group, a good sized group. And we were supposed to be just passing the microphone around from person to person. And when it came to me, it was like I was hearing my story as people talked. And I thought, how do you people know my
Oh.
story?
Right. So each person, each of these people had had a near-death experience at some point
Right,
in their lives. And so
right.
you're hearing this, and it's,
It's like, wow.
yeah. And what was the year that this was?
This was probably 20 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah, about
Okay.
around 20 years ago.
Okay.
And the microphone got to me, and I got to the part about dying when because of an overdose of ether given to me during a tonsillectomy, and people started laughing, and I thought, what is so funny? I didn't say
Whoa.
anything funny.
Yeah.
And the lady next to me, who turned out to be quite a famous lady, whispered at me. She said, they're not laughing at you. It's just that they killed a lot of children in that time
Oh.
period, giving them adult doses of ether.
Mm.
So I told my story, and my 2 friends that ran the group were like, their mouth was hanging, and they said, I've known Annie for years, and she's never said a word. I said, I've never said a word to anyone until this minute.
So you
So
were in your 50s,
I
maybe?
was in my
Yeah.
50s, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just another door that I was coming out because
Yeah.
I didn't come out of the psychic closet until 1990. And even though I knew I was a psychic, and I had remarried, and I had talked to my husband and said, I am sick and tired of trying to be somebody that I'm not.
Yeah.
And if we get married, you're going to have a very unusual life.
Because you're not holding it back anymore.
And I said, I don't want to be someone I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
I said, are you okay with that? And he said, yeah, I'm good with that.
Wow.
So, the rest is history. So after we got married, we both were in law enforcement, full-time law enforcement. We worked for different agencies. And I began a part-time business on the side and had clients come into my home.
As a psychic.
As a psychic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And during that period of time, I had really strong inclinations that I was also a medium, and I didn't like it at all.
So say the difference between there's a psychic and there's a medium. What is a medium?
A medium communicates with the other side of the veil.
Okay. Okay.
And truth to tell, I'd been a medium right along and just didn't realize it.
Yeah. And
yeah. And that was brought to my attention just about a year ago. So at any rate, I had various experiences in that house. We lived, I believe, on a ley line. And we were very close to Onondaga Lake, which is a very spiritual lake in Syracuse, New York. And we lived on a ley line that went directly to that. Now, things blew up right after 9/11. Syracuse is about 5 hours from New York City.
Yeah.
And I had this one room. The houses up north have a lot of windows, not like here. I mean, a lot. And it was a warm spring. It was right after 9/11, and I had all the windows open. And this one room would get dust like a quarter of an inch every single day, and it was a white, thick, heavy dust. And I'm going, oh my God. Now think back, we were told that there was this cloud of dust circling the earth, which was cement and people's bodies. And so I tried initially to just use a little feather duster, and that just scattered everybody all over the place. I said, oh my God. So I had to vacuum them up, and I just think, who am I vacuuming up?
Yeah.
But that's really when things started to really pick up quite a bit, was during then. And I remembered the day quite well because I was in the bathroom, I thought, alone in the house. And if you think of your doorways, and if you look underneath the doorway, that little crack, you can tell when somebody's walking in front of the door. You see a change in the shadow. And I'm seeing a change going on in the shadow. And I'm going, oh my God, this has got to stop. So I get up and I open the door and I'm screaming. I said, just go. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. And you do not come anywhere near the bathroom when I'm in it. No.
You're talking to a spirit?
I'm talking to spirits. Yes.
Yeah.
Going up and down my hallway. So I'm kind of used to family showing up. I didn't have any problem with family from the other side showing up. That was nice. But I'm not these strangers. So I called a friend of mine that I knew was a very good medium. And I told her what's going on. And I said, what is going on here? What's happening here? And she said, Annie, your light has gotten so bright. They're just finding you. And I said, what do I do? And she says, get used to it. I don't want to get used to it.
Are you in your 50s at this point?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was late 40s when that happened. So, but I began to tie it in because, and I've skipped some stories, but we'll continue with this one. We started seeing orbs around the house, and they showed up as probably with most people, they show up in your pictures, and you say, what is that round thing there? And the first one that showed up was a beautiful blue one right in front of our fireplace. So after a while, I was sensing someone. I would be expecting a client, say at 2:00, and I was sensing someone from the other side coming in before they arrived, right? And I'm losing my mind here. What's going on? So when my husband was home, I'd say, Ed, and I positioned him just right. I said, just stand here with the camera and just take picture after picture and start from like the outside wall through the living room, through the hallway, and into my room, that
Yeah.
type of thing, and see what you get.
Yeah.
And it was a progression of orbs coming in from the outside wall right
What?
into my office, right? And I'm not imagining this
Yeah.
is really,
Yeah.
this is happening. So I didn't say I was happy about it, not one bit. And I kept trying to slam the door over and over again. But to back up the story just a tiny bit, because I think I was around 10 or 11, I had the house I grew up in I had a small bedroom, very small, like a closet. No, not quite that small, but it was small. And it had one window. And at that time, again, we're going back to the 50s. Um, we didn't have, nobody had air conditioning, that type of thing. So we had screens that slid like this. You pulled up the window, you put the screen in, you went like this, and you push the window down. And I'm sitting, it's hot, it's a hot summer day. I've got the window open, and I'm hearing this beautiful, beautiful music. And I go, wow, where's that coming from? It must be coming from outside. It has to be. So I lift the window up, take the screen out, stick my head out the window. Now remember again, this is 50s.
Yeah.
There, we had record players.
Right, right.
Right? And no one played their record player
Yeah.
loud,
Yeah.
first of all. And no one went up and down the street running, their car radio loud. Nobody did that.
Right.
So I had my head out the window and I'm trying to figure out and there's nothing out there. And it's obviously coming from inside my room. And now I'm petrified.
Yeah.
I want to stay and
Yeah.
listen to this beautiful, beautiful music, but I'm also petrified.
Yeah.
So I go running down the stairs 2 or 3 at a time, and I go running into the kitchen to my mom, and I said, I just heard the angels sing. And normally she'd be critical and skeptical, and yeah. And she said, no, I think you really did.
Mm.
So there was things that happened throughout growing. I grew up in a haunted house, and we're not going down that road because it's just, that's a whole road all by itself. It's a whole side road. But there was a progression of things that had happened, and I didn't know the word psychic. I never heard the word psychic until I was into my 20s.
Yeah.
And you were said to have the gift.
Yeah.
They never really explained what the gift was.
You
have a gift.
You got
it. What? And I just didn't know what to do with that. So I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And I proceeded not to tell anybody about it until 1990 was the first time I came out of the psychic closet.
That's so funny. And so once you came out, did you feel like everything just started rushing in really fast? Did you feel like they were like finally excited that they could finally talk to you?
I think so.
Or were you just didn't come out to the public, but you already had them in you?
I just came out to the public.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
all.
So
I
right.
had kept it to myself because it had been a bone of contention on and off throughout my life, and I didn't talk about it. And I had been a police officer, a road patrol, and yes, I did use my gift at times. But again, you just never.
But you didn't
mention it, right?
Yeah.
And even after I started at a smaller agency, and then I went to a bigger agency with better pay and benefits, and then I finally ended up at the state police. And by that time, my ex-husband and his family and my family, they wanted me off the road. So I went inside to work for the state police, and I kept it quiet for a long time until I blew it. I'm the one that blew it because I started to do these radio shows in town, and it was a very popular station. It was Sunny 102, and I was doing a regular segment once a week, right? So I had come in to work, and one of the guys stopped me and said, did I hear you on the
Oh, so
radio
you
this
were
morning?
you were doing psychic readings on the radio, but
Well,
you were incognito.
I was doing they for this radio show they wanted me to do astrology,
Okay.
and they love to just fool around and chuckle, so I would write it
Uh-huh.
in a humorous way. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be, it was, you're going to meet the man of your life. No,
Right.
you're going to meet this really ugly dude that's going to ask you out this week. This type of thing. I would turn it around,
Right, right, right.
But yeah, I kind of outed myself, and then I was doing shows around town, and my picture would end up in the paper and that kind of thing. So I ended up outing myself after a while.
I just had a memory of what you gave me a psychic reading. Okay, I'm not even going to talk about it because it's so freaking weird and we're not going to talk about it.
I don't remember it.
I'm not going to talk about it because it's freaking me out. Because it was like like, oh my God. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So, oh my God, that's so funny because that was a long time ago. And now it's like, oh. Anyway, let's delete that. She's good. Okay, she's good. So one thing I find fascinating, and this is something do you know Mary Hayes? She's out in Winter Park. She's a really amazing medium. She's got a beautiful office. She charges like, like close to 200, I think at this point for an hour.
Yeah.
And she's a medium. Yeah.
I
But
don't know her.
yeah,
I know somebody that probably knows
probably
her,
yeah.
but I don't
Actually
know her.
Shannon knows her. Yeah. So but what I was talking to her about this stuff, and she was saying that the people who are true psychics and mediums are reluctant about it, and and I find that interesting because I think this stereotype, and I will say there are some people I know who are very proud of their psychic abilities and boast about it, and kind of manipulate people with it. Have you had that experience? Do you know psychics who?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
And it's like, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're necessarily
But they're
bad.
rare. I will say that it's
Okay.
rare.
Okay.
It's been, let's qualify that,
Yeah.
because I would say 99.9% of all the psychics and psychic mediums I've ever met and worked with and done shows with and whatever have been top shelf. And I ran my own shows, 3-day shows called Your New Life Expos in Syracuse. And since I was on the hiring
Yeah.
end of it, I made sure everybody was always top shelf. But I
Yeah.
had worked with these people for a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, that was the first time I introduced mind, body, spirit to the Syracuse area.
Ah.
That was, now it's common. Everybody
Yeah,
knows mind,
mind,
body,
body,
spirit.
spirit.
But it was a new thing.
Yeah.
Then. So, and I said, well, this is the way I want to do it. So I had 1/3 psychic mediums, 1/3 artists and artistes and whatnot, and 1/3 healers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
It was really great. Yeah.
So the whole charlatan thing. So, I mean, I'm a tarot card reader, or I just call myself a fortune teller because at this point I don't really do tarot. I use oracle cards, but I'm doing a lot of intuition. I'm just picking stuff up. But it's been a hard space for me to step into because I grew up, my dad was a psychiatrist. Everything is chemical, everything is brain, there's no life after death. And we're like, yeah, Dad, once he passed, I'm like, yeah, now maybe it's different now. But so I was told very much so in the same way. It's like, no, that stuff, those are charlatans. Those are, and so I never wanted to have anybody feel like they were being taken advantage of. And I will tell people, I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I don't really know what's going on. Maybe you have a better idea. But to me, it's like, I'm not even sure. Like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? Like, they are
Oh my
so
God,
real.
no.
Okay.
They have proved themselves. Let me get my two books down.
Good.
They have proved themselves over and over
Yes,
and over.
yes.
And yeah, absolutely.
So,
they have
right.
proved
And
themselves.
so you never doubted it.
Oh, I
Or
did in
you?
the beginning.
Okay.
I did in the beginning because
Okay.
who's in my head?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah.
And you heard this story the other day. At the time, I didn't have a name for they yet, and it was just I was getting information. I was getting downloads of information. And again, at that time, if you heard of somebody who channeled, and I really don't like the word channeled, it's more like giving messages. you just weren't sure who you were talking to, and it's usually some Indian from 500 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So I bugged they,
Yeah.
who are my guides,
Yeah.
angels, and teachers, and I bugged them for years.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
what is your name? I
Yeah.
want a
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
And finally, they said, well, we are they. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, they who? And they said, they, just they. But make sure it's capital and bold font when you mention us, because we are the hot shots. And then we just started laughing. You know, they have marvelous, marvelous sense of humor. But I have never, never known them to be wrong. And let me jump way
Mm-hmm.
ahead
Sure.
to recently,
Yeah.
when the one time I thought they were wrong. My husband died. Now it's a pretty good record though, over 35 years
Mm-hmm.
of absolute accuracy from they. My husband died just short of a year ago, and a friend of a friend visited a few days after. She brought her fellow back from England, and she had told me that he was a medium, and he gave me a message while
Mm-hmm.
he was here, repeating back a um, conversation that it was a private conversation that Ed and I had had about 6 months
Oh.
before he died.
Yeah.
And I said, wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And this just, if anybody out there listening is a new widow or a widower, you know the pain that
Mm-hmm.
you're in, and there is no words to
Yeah.
express
Yeah.
the pain. And he helps so much. And my initial thought was, I have to open up that door again. I have to talk to him myself.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, once I made that decision, and it took me a few weeks to come to that decision, but
Yeah.
I had to, because remember, I'd been slamming this door shut for years, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, hey, I want to open it back up. And I had made this decision. It was sometime in December. It was a few weeks after Ed died. I was going to pursue it. But I'm talking today, and I said, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I can't just say, boom, I'm a medium.
Mm-hmm.
I Show me what I'm supposed to do. So the next day, I get this email from James Van Prague,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, why am I getting this email from James Van
Who's
Prague?
who is
He's
James?
a very world famous
Uh-huh.
psychic
Uh-huh.
medium, world famous. And I said, okay, I'll bite, I'll open it. And he's talking about this free class that he was doing. I said,
Oh,
okay, I'll bite.
right,
Free, I'm in,
right,
I'm in.
right.
And I was intrigued by what he had to say. And I said, okay, I am going to look into this class. So I'm scrolling through the website, and I saw the price of the class. And at the time, no money had come in at all from his
Mm-hmm.
estate,
Mm-hmm.
zero. And I thought, oh my God. And they said, it's going to be $175. And I said, you guys are so wrong. This is nowhere near. I've
Yeah.
never known you to be wrong,
Right.
but it's nowhere near
The
$175.
the the class.
The class,
Yeah.
right. So they said, oh, ye of little faith, keep going.
Yeah.
So I kept scrolling, and I found this section that said you could apply for a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And I applied, and I thought, I'll never hear from him. They
Yeah.
just ignore me.
Yeah.
I'm just a little Annie, nothing McAvoy. And I heard a couple hours later that I was accepted. And guess how much I had to pay for the class? Exactly, $175.
Oh my
Exactly.
gosh.
Okay, I'm sorry I doubted you. I'm sorry. So their accuracy is incredible, and that includes, and well, I have the stories in both books. It's not just reading people; it's being told about earthquakes happening, being shown plane crashes, being shown trains ending up on a mountainside. It's being shown all kinds of things, and I verify each one of these things
Mm-hmm.
that happen
Mm-hmm.
with a news
Yeah.
picture about the incident afterwards.
So that seems like a gift I would not want.
It's not cool. It's not. The first time I had the earthquake experience, I don't remember what year it was, but I think it was in the 90s, and late 90s. And my husband and I are in the kitchen. We've just eaten dinner. He was actually helping for a change. You usually do that. But everything I felt
Mm-hmm.
started shaking like crazy in our kitchen. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
holding on to the counter now. And he
Mm-hmm.
says, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "It's the earthquake." And I'm
Yeah.
seeing the cupboard shake and I'm
Oh
seeing
my
everything shake,
gosh.
right? And he said, "What earthquake?" And I said, "My God, Ed, everything is shaking. What's wrong with
Yeah.
you?" And he said, "No."
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm telling you, there
Mm-hmm.
is going to be a big earthquake. And this is the dead of winter in Syracuse." And he said, "It can't. It's too cold to have an earthquake."
Yeah. Yeah. Right, right, right.
So within about a half hour, the big TV at the time was downstairs in the family room. And I happened to go downstairs, and there running across the bottom of the screen was this huge earthquake that had just occurred in Mexico.
Whoa. Whoa. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not a gift.
no.
Yeah.
And it kicked in again the next day with an aftershock. We'd gone to, trying to think, German restaurant. What doesn't matter, but it was a
Mm-hmm.
German restaurant. We'd gone to a German restaurant for dinner, and I'd gotten up to go to the ladies' room, and all of a sudden it started again. So I'm hanging onto the sink now
Yeah.
to keep from
Because
falling.
you feel like you're
I
in an
feel it.
earthquake.
I'm feeling it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh.
So I thought, "Oh my God, is this really happening, or is
Yeah.
this just one of those things again?"
Yeah.
Because this was the very first time that it had occurred.
Yeah.
So I came back to the table and I said, "Either another earthquake or it was a big aftershock just happened."
Yeah.
And he said, "Where?" In the bathroom. you know. But yeah, I warned him before he married me. It was life with me was going to be different.
Mm, mm. Wow. So I guess it's so now I'm getting all these personal questions because I'm thinking about um so you it was a welcome thing for you. I mean, not welcome, but you have accepted this your whole life. Even like you knew. See, for me, I feel like at 52, I would say probably no, actually it was when I got my divorce. It was the day that my ex-husband and I agreed to divorce. That everything just like the whole thing. Now, I don't know what my thing is. I don't know if it's a gift or whatever it is, but it just like just hit me. And ever since then, my version of they, my angels, guides, I don't even know really. They have been with me nonstop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
they are.
yeah, but like I don't always believe it. And I don't always know how to. So I'm gonna come out right now and say that. So I talk to them all the time. I text. We text. I guess it's the modern way you do it. No, I'll type a question
Uh-huh.
and then they answer and we have a conversation and they're hilarious. Like you said, mine are they're
They
little
wonderful.
Dickens.
Yeah, they really
They're
are.
they're
Yeah.
sneaky and they're funny and they love you unconditionally.
Yes.
And now, would you say that this is not like a special thing? I don't think I'm special that I have them. I think it's just special that for some reason I cracked the veil enough to hear them. But do you think most people have them, or what is it?
I don't know the answer to
Yeah.
that. I really don't. I think just from what I've read,
Mm-hmm.
that most everyone has the potential
Mm-hmm.
for psychic ability.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I explain it is Tiger Wood, when he was a child, his father recognized that he had the potential
Mm-hmm.
for golf. And of course, but he had to recognize that potential and then he had
Yeah.
to work his butt off.
Yeah.
And I think that may be part of the difference between professional psychics and people who just say, "Well, I know who's going to call before they call," that kind of
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
is we have recognized it, acknowledged it, and worked with it.
Oh, so it's
And to
it's
bring it
it's a
forth,
skill that
it's
you
a
have to
skill.
build.
Yeah, you have to
So
build.
it's just like art. There's like, my son is an amazing natural artist, but he's just doesn't care. So he's not using it. But it's like you have to take a skill that you have, a
Yeah,
little budding
yeah,
skill.
yeah.
And maybe some people are better at music and some people
Mm-hmm.
are better at, drawing or whatever, and it's the same thing. For me, I'm highly empathic, which it's such an overused word and I don't even like admitting that because people use it and overuse it, I feel. But I can connect very easily to people's feelings, like hyper connect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's annoying as it's annoying.
It can be. Yes, it can be. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do? So how do you go about, so you have all of this stuff. You've got
You
you
ought to take yeah.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
room
We
is
got the whole
full.
thing.
This full
Right.
is angels, and I have a whole angel wall here, and then I have a Native American wall over there, and it's just stuff.
Okay.
So
So yes. Okay, so you've got all, so there's this reality. And then there's this other reality that like you said, the veil, there's this other stuff going on. It's probably even more vast than either of us know. It's
yeah, yeah,
probably,
absolutely, absolutely.
and so, but you're not crazy. I mean, maybe
I
somebody,
maybe I don't know.
maybe it's possible somebody is watching this and going, "Oh my God, these are two lunatics." And with great, okay, awesome. So, but to me, crazy is when you can't function and you do it and you have it. Where so
Well, this as many times as I've resented this ability and fought against it and just tried to shut it down, um, when I began to follow the breadcrumbs that they were leaving me, yes, we want you to become a medium, and here's this course that we
mm-hmm,
have arranged for you,
right,
and that course led to other things
yeah,
and led to
yeah,
other things, and we want you to open this door
yeah,
because it's high time. So this has been, and again, I'm speaking to the newly bereaved here out there in the audience, that it came at a time that you don't think you have any reason to get up. I have
mm-hmm,
one friend in particular, and I have several friends that are recent widows and one widower. And this one individual seems to sit for hours on her couch and just stares at the wall. And I'm not making fun, I'm not picking,
mm-hmm,
because we
mm-hmm,
all grieve in a different way.
mm-hmm,
But this was the thing that said, I have to get up
yeah, yeah,
and get going. And the book, I Love You Goodbye, started with me just sitting down and puking it out,
yeah,
more or less.
yeah, yeah,
And I was, I don't know how far I was into it, but I thought, oh my God, this is a book. I'm doing
mm-hmm,
a book
mm-hmm,
because I put everything in. I didn't hold back about anything.
yeah.
And some of the language might be a little raw, but I didn't hold anything back. And this includes everything that happened about when you are a new widow, suddenly you're settling in a state at a time that you can't focus. The
Mm-hmm,
brain fog is
mm-hmm,
incredible. It's
mm-hmm,
just horrible. And you're expected to go to DMV and life insurance and
mm-hmm,
the VA and his
mm-hmm,
pension
yeah,
just on and on and
yeah,
on.
yeah,
And truly, you can barely function,
yeah,
and yet you're supposed to be able to just handle these things.
yeah,
And I started the probate and just all of it.
yeah,
So as I'm putting all this into what I'm writing, I realize I'm giving people a roadmap at the same time.
mm-hmm,
Here's, if they
yes,
die, call Social Security right away, because
yeah,
you're going to have to wait 3 months
yeah.
before you talk to anybody.
So
So,
this book, I Love You Goodbye, is it very different than these? And we're going to
oh
hold these up
yes,
right
this
now.
is extremely different.
So,
Yeah.
so, so, so is this, for lack of a better word, we need a better word for this, but so is this new book woo woo, or is it really concrete?
It didn't start off being woo. It didn't start off that way, but it truly, I guess you could say it is, because I throw everything in there. As I said, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't hold anything back at all, and that included my new walk is investigating, am I really a medium, and can I become a good medium? And now I'm not satisfied with that. I want to become a great medium.
Yeah.
But and the little pieces that I was given along the way to just keep following along, I knew I was getting the help. But I'm not telling people in the book, go be a medium. I'm
Right.
not saying
No, no,
this.
no.
But
Right.
I am saying, find that thing that
Mm-hmm.
gets you up in the
Mm-hmm.
morning and say,
Mm-hmm.
I have a mission, I have a plan,
Yes.
and you can see failure is not an option here. I have little notes all over my desk.
Here I'm gonna. Here, let's see if I can do it. Just so you can see her amazing. Look at all of the angels. She is loaded with angels and aphorisms.
Ah,
Let's see if we can get this set up. Yeah.
so it's meant to be a help,
Mm-hmm.
a help for people that
Yeah.
are going through. Yes, it's a story, and what includes in that story are. Ed started communicating with me immediately.
Yeah.
He I was next to him in the hospice room. I was on the phone with my neighbor whose husband had just died 2 months or 2 weeks before mine.
Oh wow.
And I suddenly heard inside my head, I'm leaving now. And I said,
Oh.
May, I got to go. And I hung up on her, right? And I stood up
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was headed toward the other side of the bed so I could get
Yeah.
close to him. And as I'm walking up toward the ceiling,
Yeah.
and but going out towards the lanai door at the hospice,
Uh-huh.
is this gold cloud that's just undulating. It's not solid. It's just doing one of these things. And I thought, And then I just kept going
Uh-huh.
to be next to Ed.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until hours later, oh my God, I saw his soul leave.
Oh, you're just like, oh, just a gold cloud in the corner.
It just, I put my blinders on
Well,
and I
because
have
there
to
was
be
some
next to
serious,
my
yeah,
husband. I
yeah,
have to be next to my
yeah,
husband. I have to be there.
yeah,
So he'd already left. He had told me
yeah.
that he was leaving. And it just, and I heard him talking that
Yeah.
night at the edge of the, I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
It just,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I left
Wow.
a TV on or
Yeah,
something. And I
yeah,
got up and I'm going through the house and
yeah.
no TV's on. Wow. And that was just the very first of tons and tons of messages. Now I'm going to get back to a story we were talking
Okay.
about this past Sunday. So I am into medium classes a week minimum, and this one class I was in, I knew either they or Ed had showed up because I'm watching myself just like now, and I could see variations in the lighting behind
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying anything to anybody. And then one of the mediums starts, private messaging me on the Zoom call. And she said, Do you know you have a spirit near you? And I said, Yeah. And she said, Who is it? And I said, Well, it's either my husband or they. It's one
Yeah.
or the other.
Yeah.
And Ed proceeds to give her a message to tell me,
Uh-huh.
right? And he did, and she and I both got the message a little bit wrong, but now I know it's right. And then he said, "Tell her she wouldn't be where she is right now if I hadn't died first." He's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never would have
Yeah.
opened this door
Yeah.
again. I never
Yeah.
would have
Yep.
started this
Yep.
book.
Yep. Yep.
And
And we need you, and we need you, and the world needs you. Like you're giving us a gift. Like you coming into your power, as like I keep saying to you, it's like you just like I'm like you look different. You're in your power. We need you in your power to bring us these messages. I mean, the widows need you. Like I'm just sitting here. I'm like, oh, I feel so safe with her. It's okay. I can have my angels, and I can say it
yes, you
out
can. You can.
loud.
I
Yeah.
mean, not that some people aren't going to think that you are. I mean, years ago,
Right. Exactly.
I did, I would go be a psychic at different places in
Yeah.
town, for an afternoon for a couple hours. And there was one place I went, I don't know, 2 or 3 times to do my thing, right? And I would come back to my parked car and there would be a cross or a crucifix or something on my car. And I'm a Christian, by the way. Um, but I would laugh because somebody was trying to save my soul,
Yeah. Oh, I see. Right,
Yeah, they
right,
were
right. And that
trying to
happens a
save my
lot.
soul. And it
That happens a lot
yeah.
because there's different kinds of Christian. I was raised Jewish, so but
Yeah.
how I understand it is there's different types of Christians. Some Christians really go into spirit, soul, this kind of thing, and
Yeah.
some Christians are very scared of it. Is that
Well,
right?
I want to be explicit
Okay.
about that word Christian
Okay.
because it's now become foggy, I think.
Okay.
And in my explanation, the word Christian means Christ like,
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's my effort to be Christ like and to
Yes.
follow
Yes.
his example.
Oh.
So It is. I'm sorry for people who love their church.
Yeah.
I grew up in the church. I
Yeah.
was there 4 or 5
Yeah.
times a week for crying
Yeah.
out loud. I was there all the time.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's not me
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't need a building
Yeah. Yeah.
to go in. The building is inside,
Yeah.
and I can
Yeah.
check in anytime I
Yeah.
want. I don't
Yeah.
have to get all dressed up and drive down the street and open the door and go sit in a pew. I'm here.
Yeah.
He's here. They are here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Christ is not something, you correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to get into a short, very short religious discussion. But so for you, Christ is not something separate that's, you go to the church and there's a priest and then Christ is, you hear the words and then it's Christ is
No.
something that's in you,
Inside you. Yes.
inside you. And that's,
I've
yeah.
taught a course in miracles for 13 years here in town. And I've been a student longer than that. I started back in Syracuse. And you hear, and I didn't mean to go down this particular path, but
Here we are.
here
That's
we
what
are.
happens. This is what happens
Yeah.
when I interview people. Yeah.
So I don't know if they still do it, but I know years ago they would say brother Tom and sister
Yeah.
Sally
Yeah.
and this and that. But there is truth in that
Mm-hmm.
because we are all one.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
all
exactly.
oneness.
Exactly.
So you're not only my sister, I mean, we're attached.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We are all one. And that
Right.
goes for Jesus of Nazareth as well. He's my brother.
Yes.
So I am at one with him and he's at one
Yes.
with me. And
Yes.
you and I are at one. And everybody out there is we're all big one
We're
clump.
all one thing. And yeah. And then, and so, and from what I've followed a lot of NDEs, near death experiences, and I've seen, it seems like in those other realms, there's a lot more oneness, and here
Yeah,
is just
yeah.
that we feel like Annie's here, Becky's here.
Yes,
It
yes.
feels different.
Yeah.
But that's just one level. That's just this
It's this
realm that we're
dimension. It's
incarnated
this
into.
dimension.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Okay, so I am looking at the time, and do you have anything you want to add? I mean, we could talk forever. Like we could do a whole podcast, just the two of us, like ongoing
I
conversations.
think so. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hold up your books and
Yes,
and
I
talk
will-
about your
yes.
other books.
All
Do a
right.
little promo for
We will
yourself.
start here. And the book is called Just Who Are They Anyway? And now I have a great story about this.
Okay. Okay.
I have a story about everything. So, this gentleman walked into my Course in Miracles group.
You lead a
Years
Course
ago.
in
I
Miracles
do,
group.
yes.
Okay.
And currently it's down in Flagler Beach at the Gathering Place. I'll give her a plug.
Yeah.
And this guy walks in and he looks like John Wayne and he talks like John Wayne and wow. So come to find out he's an author
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And we started talking because I had been a columnist for a magazine for 19 years and had written for other people's books and this type of thing. And we were talking, and he said, "Why aren't you writing your own book?" And I even wrote for one of his last books.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Because I don't have anything to say."
Right.
And he said, "I beg to differ.
Yeah.
You have a lot to say."
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of writing this book, Just Who Are They Anyway? We're explaining who they are. And the first part of every book is my experiences, and I'm trying to pick out the most interesting ones. And then the second part is the messages they started channeling around 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So to get back to Joe for a minute,
Joe is the
Joe is
John
the-
Wayne.
Joe is the John Wayne guy.
Okay.
So I got stuck, and
Yeah.
because you've sat here with me,
Yeah, yeah.
So I got stuck.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I called him and I
Yeah.
said, "Help!"
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And he said, "What?" And I said, I don't know what to do next." And
Yeah.
he said, "Okay, I will be there."
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he came and he came and he was sitting in this chair right here, and he's showing me different things, right? And I'm nervous because I
Yeah.
said, "Are you always going to be around to help me when I have questions?" And he said, "Of course I will. I will always be here for questions,"
Aw.
right? So I said, "Okay, all right, good."
Yeah.
And he left, and 4 days later, he died.
Oh, I remember this.
Yes.
This is where I come into the story a little bit. Yes.
So, yeah, so I'm talking, well, I'm texting back and
Yeah.
forth on Facebook to his girlfriend, and who lives up in Harrisburg, and I'm mad at Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm terribly sad
Oh,
because I loved
yes.
him dearly. We were exactly 12 hours apart. We had the same birthday.
Uh-huh.
We were same year, same
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
but we were
yeah.
exactly 12 hours apart, right?
He
And
just had it. He just had to help you with with the book out of body.
so yeah, but anyway, I'm mad at him, and I'm going, how dare he? And I'm
Yeah,
typing this, how dare he die before
yeah,
this book
yeah,
is done? He could have waited.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know and don't misunderstand, honestly, I was brokenhearted that he died, but
Right,
I was also mad that he
right. You get
died,
to be
right?
mad too.
So there was this joke that we
Hmm.
told people, because we were 12 hours apart, that we were brother and sister, which got a lot of laughs from people, because
Yeah.
they said, oh my God, your mother had a 12-hour labor in between you two. And we just crack up, right? So I had sent him this joke on the internet, and it said, my big brother has the greatest little sister, just saying. Okay. And I had sent
Yeah,
that to him about 6 months
yeah,
before he
yeah.
died, and we thought it was funny. So I'm typing back and forth to Susan and venting, and on my computer screen here, all of a sudden, it fills the computer screen. This thing that I sent to him months ago. My big brother has the greatest little sister, just saying. And I'm
Oh.
going, and I can see, the window for Facebook, because
Yeah,
I'm using
yeah,
Messenger, and I'm going,
yeah,
I can't even talk
yeah,
for
yeah,
for a minute, and I'm going,
yeah, yeah,
how is this happening? This can't
yeah,
be happening.
yeah,
So finally, I'm telling her, Joe's here. And
yeah,
she said, what do you mean Joe's here? And
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, but he's on my computer. I don't know. And it was the first of many, many things I've seen since then. They are quite techy on the other side. I mean, just
They are quite techy on the. That's going to be the quote. They are quite techy on the other
they
side.
really are.
Good job, guys.
I was working. Well, I think it was. I don't remember which book it was, this book or the second book, but I was working on a story for one of these books, and it had to do with a story that my grandfather had told us girls. And I sent an email to both my sisters,
Mm-hmm.
and the story was, again, we're talking 1800s now, okay,
Mm-hmm.
late 1800s, and Grandpa was coming from someplace. He had a horse and wagon. It had gotten dark,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this being
Mm-hmm.
came out of the woods and grabbed hold of the halter and stopped the horse.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't remember if he said it was a angel or a ghost. I couldn't
Right.
I couldn't
Right.
remember what he said. And one sister never answered me, and the other one said, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So I wrote her back, and I said, okay, then I'm just going to go with the way I remember it and hope that it's correct.
Mm-hmm.
That was, oh, about 2 or 3 months before she died. And I never heard anything more back
Mm-hmm.
from her
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
She'd been dead, 2 or 3 weeks
Mm-hmm.
anyway. And I got an email from my dead sister. Yeah.
Okay.
Referring to that email that I had sent. And
Whoa.
she said, go for it.
Go for.
Go for it.
Go
I
for.
said, because I said, I'm just going to type it, write it the way I remember it.
Yeah.
So her
Yes.
answer was,
Yes.
go for it.
Oh.
And, but
Oh.
she was dead. I mean,
So, I mean, you like literally got an
I
email
did.
from.
I did. I
Wow.
got an email from my sister. Now, she was not techie at
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
on this side of the veil. She was constantly messing up her computer, and somebody would have to come and fix it. I mean, it was just, and here she is now sending emails from beyond the veil. I mean, it's just, wow.
Wow.
So, I mean,
But
this, yeah.
what's interesting though is that you're a medium and, and a psychic, and yet you are still surprised by this
Yes.
stuff
Oh my God, yeah.
because we don't really understand it, right? I mean, we don't
No.
really know what's happening and we're surprised and Gosh, we could talk a long time. I mean, like I am so grateful, and I am gonna put a little plug for myself right
Yes,
now.
yes, yes.
So, so
Here's the other book.
yeah,
Boop, boop, boop,
so
boop.
Annie reached out to me. You said 2016 when you were working on this
Yeah,
book,
yeah.
because I have done a lot of books. I've authored I think 16 books at this point, and she reached out to me and said, "Help, help," you know. And so I came over and helped her, and it's so funny because like I said, that was a lifetime ago for me. I'm in a very different headspace
Yeah,
now.
me too.
And so I remember like going, okay, I think this is cool that she's a medium, but it's a little uncomfortable and it's a little scary and it's a little weird and all this stuff, right? So I'm working on her document. Like I'm at home working on it. And I can't there was some like photo, like I think it was your friend Joe, like you told me it was Joe. There was some photo that would appear, like it would glitch. It would appear and then it would disappear. We were stuck in some weird thing and it was not, I mean, I've been working with computers a lot. And this weird photo glitch, I have no idea, but it just would stuck and then I did something and then it was gone. So I don't know what that
I
was,
got one
but
more story I have to tell
okay,
this.
we got one more story.
It, oh yeah, I do. And
Okay.
I don't know if I, okay. So I was writing the second book. I was halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
I was discouraged because I wasn't this famous author yet. I
Yeah.
guess, I thought,
Yeah, we all think
the
that. Yeah.
bells and
Yeah.
whistles and none of that had happened. And I said today, I have to ask signed because I'm really, really
Yeah.
dense. So I'll say, flashing lights, neon lights, you
Yeah.
have to send me a sign.
Yeah.
I can't possibly mess up.
Right.
And I said, it has to include a book in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Should I continue or just drop this whole idea because I'm not
Right.
having a good time here?
Right.
So the next day I sit here in front of
Mm-hmm.
my computer and now on my screen,
Mm-hmm.
this picture shows up and I don't know how well you can see it, but it's actually an artwork and this is the whole thing, but I made it bigger. And what this is a book holding up a brick wall.
Mm.
And the art is the impact of a book by Jorge Mendez Blake.
So it's like in a gallery.
I,
It's
I,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this, and again, it's filling my
Yeah.
screen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And why? Yeah.
There's the book holding up a brick wall,
Yeah.
and the name of this is The Impact of a Book. Remember, I had asked
Oh.
them,
Yeah.
should I
Yeah.
quit? I want to quit. This
Yeah.
isn't fun.
Yes.
I'm not having fun anymore. I'm not
Oh.
famous anymore.
Right.
So, and this is what they sent me. This
Mm.
was the sign to
Mm-hmm.
keep going
Mm-hmm.
that I may not be, the famous author yet, but I was impacting
Yeah.
lives
Yes.
by, yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. And that's yeah. Yeah. And we're being talked to all the time.
yes, yeah,
Like ridiculously. Like it's to the point now where I'm not I had a mentor who was actually my disguised as a therapist. He was just a therapist for me named Joe. And he would and so I felt safe with him. This is before I was into the magic stuff, and I feel safe with him because he was a therapist. He's got the couch and everything, and he was the one who told me, my dad was a psychiatrist, and they pegged me as, they gave me all kinds of diagnoses when I was a kid. And this Joe says to me, "You're not those things, Becky." And I'm like, "You can't say that. That's irresponsible. You can't tell somebody they're not all of these things." He's like, "No, you're just not." And from that unfolded a relationship. And the more every time I'd go sit with him and I'd pay him the $100 and sit there and do therapy, he was also creating this space where I realized nothing is as it really seems. That this I was so
yeah.
afraid of being crazy. My whole life I was afraid of being crazy, and he's like, "You're not. You're not. You're amazing." He's like, and he would always say to me, "You're in fact very powerful." And I'm like, and he would say to me, going to this therapist, that's not something a therapist says to their "You're very powerful, Becky." And so I would go to him and very powerful, and I'm like, "Okay." And so it's like stepping into that power is immense. Like to have a mentor that says that is pretty amazing.
And actually, we're surrounded. by mentors like that. We just
Yes.
have to kind of tune
We
into
have to
them.
we have to
Yeah.
pay attention and be
We
open
have
to
to pay
them.
attention. I
Yes.
do want to give me some plugs
Yes,
too.
please do. Where do yeah.
I have a couple. These books are both available on Amazon. Okay. And there will be a third one because this is a trilogy, but I put the third one onto one side to write I Love You Goodbye. And I Love You Goodbye, I've already signed with a publisher. It should come out in the spring of 2025. They're already bugging me for the manuscript. And and that should be available on all venues, not just Amazon.
And who's your publisher?
It's Balboa, who is a branch of
Mm-hmm.
Hay House. And
Nice.
Hay House is where I was focused and
Mm-hmm.
manifesting. I want Hay
Mm-hmm.
House.
Yeah,
So
wonderful.
that's another rabbit hole. But anyway,
Yay.
you can find me on Facebook. I have multiple pages, but just the plain Anne Bedore McAvoy, and then there's Anne McAvoy Psychic Author, and then there's another one, Anne McAvoy Psychic Astrologer. So I have 3 different pages. I have a YouTube channel, and I'm in the process of struggling through a website.
Awesome. And if people want to find you, if people want readings, do you do readings for people?
I do. I do not have the office anymore. I closed the office, so it's strictly
Like
online
Zoom.
through
Okay.
Zoom, or I
Okay.
use free conference call or Facebook Messenger that you
Okay.
can do this video thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if people want to find you, how's the best way they can find you?
CAT9201 at AOL.com.
So send her an email. All right. Thank you guys all for watching. This has been so much fun. Thank you. Yay. I feel
Bye,
I feel like I
guys.
learned something. Bye-bye.
Bye.